What's up, everybody? Welcome back. This is CANESCAST. I am your host, Garrett Halsey. We are actually going to shoot the show a little differently now. We are going to shoot the show here at my little shop here at Whole Hog Sandwiches. We are now conveniently located here in Columbus, Ohio, of all places. So you can find us on wholehogsandwiches.com. You can like us on Facebook at Whole Hog Breakfast Sandwiches. Obviously, there's a YouTube channel just like there is here at CANESCAST at Whole Hog Breakfast Sandwiches. So if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and like and subscribe and see where we're also going to be bringing out not just content here on the internet for Canes, but some good food to the people here in Columbus, Ohio, of all places again. So since we last spoke to you guys, Canes Cast is a little different in a couple ways. Phil can't always necessarily be on the show, unfortunately, because he has a full-time job. He brings the news to the good people there in Billings, Montana. So I still want to bring the content to you each and every week before the games for the rest of the season. Even though the last couple of weeks haven't gone as maybe we had hoped, I still am excited for college football and the season. And just talking about college football is good enough for me. So whether we're 12-0 as I foolishly predicted, or whether we are 2-2, 4 weeks, 4 games into the season, it doesn't matter. I want to continue to bring the content to you guys. So, with that said, let's get right into it. First out, I got to give a shout out. The craziest thing happened to me. So, a couple days before I had actually started moving to Columbus, Ohio, as we'll get into, I actually met a person by selling my sandwiches through my website. And as they came up to my door to get their food, I have my Miami gear on, and they're like, "Oh, a Miami fan, huh?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's a big game this weekend." And they're like, "Yeah, I know. My husband's a former coach, and we're super excited to play you guys this weekend, more or less." And through that exchange, I kid you not, this is a true story. We texted a couple times. Just it was so cool to look up who they were, and that they were the lady was so pleasant and so friendly, and it was so fun to talk about the game because I talked about the show, and if she watched it, awesome. If I'll send her this one too. Hopefully she'll watch this one too. So shout out to Texas A&M's team. They won that game. No quarrels here. They were ready for the moment. We were not. That's all there is to it. But we'll get into what unfolded during the game because there was a lot to talk about. But that was a really just a cool experience. How cool. I'm in Billings, Montana, soon to be here in Ohio, and in the middle, I meet somebody attached to a program like that. That's how cool college football is, guys. That's why I want to continue to do this show, tell you stories. There's so many more that I'll get into, hopefully, as the days and weeks transpire to bring you more content. So, as the game was going on, I actually wasn't able to watch the game live. I'm driving my big facility, this thing across the country, and in the middle of that is I'm driving through Chicago, Illinois at about 8-9 Central Time or Eastern Time. I can't even tell you exactly what time it was. It was all a whirlwind. This all night I was driving for 2 days straight. So in the middle of all this, the game's going on. So Phil's on the phone with me, walking me through the game as it's going on, and it's just bananas, as you can imagine. So I did get a chance to sit down and watch the game, as I had a couple moments in the middle of moving all this stuff. So at that time, I felt good about the team and what we had put on film. It wasn't an epic failure. It wasn't like we had to blow the whole thing up. It wasn't like the house has fallen. They were favored. We were on the road. We held enough of our own to feel good about it in a lot of ways that I didn't think that everything was a failure at that point. So there is no moral victories. You can't say in college football when you have losses, you can't sit there and say, "Oh, it's okay, guys. It's like a win." It's not. It's not a win. But you did run the ball well. You passed technically more than they did. So I wouldn't say the passing game looked good, but you passed more than them. You had the time of possession. You didn't turn the ball over outside of the muff punt. The game was lost as it was. It's the game. You go out there and make the plays. Devin A-Chain made a ton of plays that game, shook a ton of tackles in the backfield and got good yards for them, made big plays when they really needed them. So give them the credit that they deserve. Texas A&M and a couple players. The guy on defense had a great game covering our receivers downfield a couple times. So uh, we ran the ball really well. I thought what we had seen on their end on film before leading up into our contest was that they were vulnerable on the defensive front. You could, take it to them a little bit. They have good players. They've been successful on the recruiting trail. Let's not take their credit away from them when they have some credit due, but they're not dominant players right at this moment in time. And that's what I thought you saw when you go back and look at the Southern Miss game. It wasn't like they looked like a top 10 team. They looked, as you've known in the last couple of weeks, as the filming of this show, they barely won against Arkansas, maybe on a missed field goal, I believe was who it was. If I'm mixing it up, but then they lost to Mississippi State this weekend. So they're not a dominant team. They are a good team someday, but they're not a good team this year, and they didn't destroy us. But we also didn't hold our own against a top tier opponent either. So let's be real. They won the game fair and square. They just no flat out no excuses. They were ready. We were not. That's coaching. That's the development of this program. That's what I don't like to see now after a full step back after the Texas A&M game. You felt okay, 2-1, losing a game that's not a totally unexpected loss is where it starts at best, unfortunately for us. So that's the only concerning thing, is that the offense at that point in the passing game was so off tune. Is there was no cohesion there outside of Xavier Restrepo, which when we filmed that show, unfortunately Phil and I, Xavier Restrepo wasn't injured, knowingly to everybody, going to miss that game. So that's huge. But you can't have one player be the make or break of your offense. If you are, you're not a good team. You're not a good offense. In this case, the Texas A&M game, our defense held our own, given that they got held Texas A&M 2-3 and out, and then had to go right back on the field when one of their good players on the defense muffs the punt and puts it right back in the red zone. So let's say the defense held their own, put in all the positions, all the missed field goals, the block punts, all the really lost momentum from the offense, because there was no offensive momentum the whole game. The defense looked serviceable at Texas A&M and missed a few tackles, but let's just say that was a good player making a couple big time plays, and let's go from there. So now you go forward from that, and I don't know what to tell you after saying the right things were put on film to feel good about 3 games into the season. And then the opposite is true. Everything you liked about the team or feeling good about the team going into the fourth game is blown out the door, because that was a complete letdown, guys. I can't even begin to describe how bad of a loss that is. One, for this program, because this is what snowballs into terrible momentum. And I don't really as much get into the recruiting thing of it anymore. A lot of times, going back into my history as a Canes fan, that's what made me the biggest diehard fan. Is you followed this recruiting scene, and in South Florida, it's rabid. There's guys that they're talking about in 9th, 10th, 11th grade. All the names that go to Ohio State or go to Alabama, they go to Florida State, Florida, Clemson. It doesn't matter. They go everywhere around the country because you've been talking about these names on these boards and recruiting scenes for 3 years sometimes. So when they go everywhere outside of Miami, you still follow them, and you like Amari Cooper's, Teddy Bridgewater's, list goes on and on, Arthur Brown's, things like that have made this team what you would have made excuses for in the past. Why we're not winning championships and why we're not winning games is this reason and that reason and this player and this bad coach and this. It's just excuses all the time. There is no excuse for what you saw in the Middle Tennessee State game outside of Middle Tennessee State came to prepare to play, outcoached you, outplayed you, out-executed you, out-physically dominated you. And that's what's the most concerning part looking back now is we don't have, I don't think, a lot to feel good about. The momentum in offense is completely gone. We couldn't run the ball against Middle Tennessee State. We couldn't pass the ball consistently enough to dominate the game until Jake Garcia came in the game. And if it's me, I don't even feel good about that as much as the kid gets a shot. I think the right thing to do, in my personal opinion, if it were my team and I'm going to save my job, because at this point my job's on the line and I don't know if I'm going to be here through the rest of the year, let alone year 2 or 3. I'm going down to the offense is to the bear, to the last guy, because I want to find out if the guy that I need for next year in the year 3 is on the team today, because if he's not, I got to go find that guy. Let's say they're going to give Jake Garcia a shot. I would assume that's what we will see, because then at best TVD is our backup quarterback for the rest of the season. But that's not the way to go, in my opinion. If it's me, the best athlete on the field needs to have the ball in his hands every play. And if that guy's not on your team, then you need to go find that guy, because that's what it is in college football. These offenses are all great. You can scheme and you can do all the right things. You can have a running game and an offensive line and running game and all that. And it's all out the window when in the hard times, when the good teams come to face you and they're playing their best football against you, because this is how they get put on the map. This is what they're doing every year. And every year we let down because we don't have that guy that just strikes fear in the heart of your defense. The guy will keep you honest on the edges. You know, we run an offense right here. We'll watch, you guys are watching these plays. How does a quarterback take a shotgun snapback and consistently pretend to hand off the ball to a running back and pretend to keep the ball where he's no threat to run the ball? That's what's so frustrating to me in watching the offense to this point, because we got to start from square one. We don't even have the basics. We don't even have an offense that threatens the defense to scare them, to keep their safeties, their linebackers from crashing down. Their secondary has to pay very little respect to our receivers down the field because they can't make plays one-on-one. It's been shown if you pressure us and we don't have the guys that will make you pay, because we're not ready for that. And that's the concerning part of this offense. If it's me, I turn to an offense that's ready to force the hand on the ground, because we got good running backs. That's not our worst problem. We have a line that can hold up and run the ball and create holes when they're put in that position, I think. But when the game plan is to sit back and pretend like this guy's going to continue to hand the ball off to a running back, but all he's got to do is try to get the ball down to 4 or 5 options down the field, it's not scaring anybody. It's not fooling anybody at this point. And we've been running that offense, not total spread offense, because we went to this pro morph to the now spread offense game over 20 years, which a lot of programs did 15 years ago. And what's disheartening is that you watch the program like, let's say the top tier program in the country this year. Their quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner last year, best player on their team, runs their whole team well, goes down in a game that they're down in, and through adversity goes to their backup quarterback, and that player gets on the field and steps back, has not a lot of options, and then what does he do? He takes the ball 75 yards down the field, nearly scores, and the game's broke open on offense, Alabama's side. Now, they also, very next series, play the same style of offense that we're trying to put out on the field, but their read is completely different, because the quarterback, now when he pretends to take that handoff this way or that way or wherever he's going, the half of the defense better keep their P's and Q's. They are frozen in their stance because they're not attacking me, because they have no idea what the hell they just saw. Just got walked down and blew right past them. They're not thinking better come attack me right this second. They're on their heels. Okay. So now when I'm doing that action as the running back's running past me, half the defense doesn't know where the ball or what they should be doing. As you saw in the next series in that game that unfolded, that's where the game got broken open. The offensive line blocks downfield, and great running back, great speed, hits the hole, and it's easy. That quarterback did the same thing our quarterback does in that motion. He didn't even do anything. He hands the ball off. He wasn't even continuing the action very hard, but it didn't matter. He had made the play and struck the fear in the heart of the defense the series before. That's the difference. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's having that player strike fear in the heart of the defense is missing. We had no fear of Middle Tennessee State's quarterback, and he just threw the ball for 500 yards on our defense. Threw several 70 and 90-yard passes against us in our own turf. And we can't complete a 15-yard pass downfield because our offense is so wound up on making every play, making everything count, that if one thing goes wrong, we don't have the guy that can just take over and dominate the play anyway. Shake the pressure in the backfield. I've been watching Miami football play religiously. I want to be honest with you. I've been watching this team, and I can't recall a game where a quarterback shook five players in the backfield and gained positive yards as just a scramble. Okay, this is not rocket science. This has been put on film for years. If you get pressure in Miami's backfield, that quarterback is going down, right? He's unfortunately not fleet of foot enough to break the tackles and get a play made anyway. If you get the pressure on our squad, we're done. It's been repeat, rinse, recycle. It's been put on film so many times. That's it. That's how we are. And that's what's so frustrating to me as a guy that's watched a lot of great college football. You don't have to have that guy every year, but that's what we've never had. Ever had. We've never had that guy. And there's been guys in our backyard that can play football that way, go everywhere, and we won't play with those players. That's what's I can't understand. I just can't understand why we continue to go to the same thing and we expect different results because we haven't proven that it works. When it's been proven outside of us that if you play this way, it can work. You can have great seasons and go to championship games and win a conference championship game for once. We've been in this conference for nearly 20 years and we've never really been a threat to win the championship game. The 1 year we went, we got destroyed. So we weren't even ready for that. It's not that complicated to me. I see it. Programs across the country every year have great years and play good college football and have exciting things to talk about. And we continue to expect things to just change because we're just Miami and we're just it's just gonna happen. It's just time, and it's just we have all the talent. We all put all the right things in place, and we do all the right things. And we say all the right things all the time. But when it comes out on Saturdays and Thursday nights every once in a while, like it's a totally different thing. Our players are not responding to what we have to be ready for, and that is what we just got shown. I jested in the opening show that if you would have told me we would have lost to Middle Tennessee State beginning of the season, I would have said this is not going to work for Mario Cristobal. This is not the right place for you. If you can't be ready for that team, having just come back from Texas A&M, and you're not ready, whatever happened in that game, if you got blown out, I don't care. If you're not ready for Middle Tennessee State game in the next game, this isn't the place for you. This isn't the time for you. I got to question whether we're going to see him. He's going to see this thing through. I highly doubt having the adversity in my forefront. I know what we're going to face is North Carolina's best shot. We're going to face Virginia Tech, Florida State, Pitt, Georgia Tech. I am flat out terrified of Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech has a quarterback, a player that would do what I think we should have done years ago, and that's jump in, let him play as a freshman, a couple, steps here and there. But now I think that guy will tear us to pieces. I think he will run and pass all over us. So I can't wait to talk about that one, and then the follow-up show of that Georgia Tech. We'll see how where I'm at on this show. So that's the fun part about this show, this game, guys. I can't wait to see the rest of the season through. I hope you guys continue to find us here on CANESCAST on YouTube. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Come find us here in Columbus, Ohio. Follow us on Facebook at Whole Hog Breakfast Sandwiches, and follow our YouTube channel there. Also, we have a Instagram, Whole Hog Sandwiches, and our website, wholehogsandwiches.com. You can follow up on when we're ready to launch and sell our food here. And guys, just go out there and have fun with it. Love each other. This is a great game. This is a great time and place if you will appreciate everything that for what it is. And that's just something to look forward to, something to talk about, something to get together on. It's not the end of the world. The Canes not being able to win a national championship this year is, unfortunately, it's just the reality that we're not there yet, but it's still a fun time and place to watch. And so that's what I'm here for, guys. Hopefully we'll continue getting to see you. And as always, guys, it's always all about the you. Hopefully see you next week. Bye-bye.